Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to some more Zero Hour and welcome back to a tutorial. So I've been meaning to make a lot of these lately. I've got a few on my list. Let me know if there's any tutorials you want to see in the future. But this one is purely today going to focus on 3 versus 3 on Defcon 6 with no rules. So I know if you're playing like no rush 10, which I know a lot of people do, and pro rules and stuff like that, these tips might vary. But today we're going to focus purely on no rules, and it can help anyone from between beginner to kind of mid-level, maybe even some of the top-level players as well. Probably some of the little things that I might tell you in here that maybe I didn't fully realize until I properly tested, which I'll show you in a second. But yeah, we've got 10 tips plus one kind of bonus one, so let's call it 11 tips. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. So we're just going to go into sandbox mode. I'm just going to play Air Force just because that's my favorite army, but the one I'm going to pick. I'm going to focus on rule number 1 of Defcon. I recently made a poll about this on YouTube, and it's always that you want to take hold of your bunkers. So here and here. So let's say whether you're playing on the side, let's say you're playing top versus bottom here. You've got your mate down here at the bottom left. Sorry, top left. You've got a mate here and you're playing on the side. It doesn't matter if you're playing on the side or if you're playing on the middle. You always want to get a hold of these two bunkers. Now you're probably asking why do you possibly should focus on that as number 1 rule? Well, the thing is, if you get a hold of that bunker, it costs you just $300. You make a missile defender from your barracks, it costs you $300. And you get inside of that one as well, it costs you $300. That's $600 in total. Now for that, this provides such a massive cover. It blocks off pretty much that entire entrance. I mean, if you put 2 missile defenders in there, there's very little that's going to get through even alive. So if you start with GLA and you put 2 RPGs inside of there, then it blocks it all off. But even if you just USA and you just put 1 inside of there, most of the time, it's going to significantly damage anything that comes through or just scare them off altogether. So it's pretty much covered a whole entrance for just a $300 price tag. And I'll let you know into a secret. I know this is probably something that even a lot of experts don't know, is that when you put a unit inside of a garrison, it actually, I think it's 20 or 25% extra damage and range that it gains. So I mean, you can test this and just test the exact numbers. I think it's 20%. So if you've got an MD, a missile defender, you put him inside of there, he's going to do 20% extra damage and 20% extra range than he could do if he's just stood normally by himself. So another reason why you want to get some of these bunkers. Also, you want to get a hold of that bunker there. Not only does it defend against the back of your base and provide a huge vision, so if there's like a sneaky worker in the back of your base, you'll probably see it. So yeah, huge vision is another thing. But also, if they get inside of that bunker and they start shooting your oil, one of your key incomes throughout the whole game on 3v3 Defcon, or any game type on Defcon, if he then starts killing your oils, it's going to be very problematic for you to then clear that and also, well, come back from losing your oil. So yeah, you don't want to lose your oil. Another reason why you want to get hold of your bunkers is so many times I play in the mid as Defcon. So I'll play as the mid, and then we've got 2 players. We've got 1 here and 1 here. And then suddenly one player's losing a battle, and then one of them is dying completely. And then I look over, and they haven't got hold of the bunkers. They haven't got hold of that, and they haven't got hold of that. Then the enemy takes them. It's so hard to retake. But even if you are just going to literally do one thing and then quit or get rushed and just die, if you have hold of that bunker and you surrender and you die, it's so much easier for another player, let's see whoever's playing mid, to then come back and retake that island. Not only is it providing all that vision, it's also blocking the entrance. It's problematic for the enemy to try and take it unless they've got like a flamer or a toxin tractor, and you've got hold of that. It's providing some protection to your oils. If you do one thing on Defcon and you're going to die, just take hold of them bunkers. Just trust me, after many years of playing this game, it's one of the biggest tips you can do on Defcon. So yeah, that's number 1. Number 2 is actually let's show you a build order how you're going to take your bunkers. Let's say you're playing USA on the side, or even if you're playing on the mid, it doesn't matter. We're going to build a dozer, and we're obviously going to build a power plant. Well, tip number 2 is scout, so I might as well cover that whilst the dozer's building. So let's say we're playing top versus bottom. We're going to place a drone here for our guy, and we're going to scan here. Now, some people like to scan there and there if you've only got 1 USA. If you've obviously got 2 USAs, you can scan here immediately, because you won't have 3 scans unless you've got 2 USAs or 3 USAs even. So yeah, some people like to scan this one, or some people like to scan that one, and then this one they will leave it, and then this player here will have to rush down or send an RPG down or a worker or something just to quickly scout and see what that is, because it's easier to scout this guy than it is to scout this guy. That's why sometimes players will scout the mid, because the mid is capable of doing like a helix or raptors or anything like that. Sometimes you want to scout the mid. So yeah, number 2 is scan, and you want to scan ASAP. Sometimes I see people waiting 10 or 15 seconds before they're using the scan, and their spy satellite support power, you do not want to wait 10 to 15 seconds because those first 10 or 15 seconds are some of the most important throughout the whole game. It can depend where your first worker is going to go, where your first dozer is going to go, if you're going to do an aggressive war factory here facing down or anything like that. You want to scan ASAP. In all RTS games, super important. So back to this build order then of taking these bunkers. We dropped down a power plant. We're now going to drop down a barracks with a second dozer, and with that dozer that finishes the power plant, we're then going to drop down a supply. Now with the barracks, I like to control group that number 2. I always just do it. It's just false creature of habit. And my missile defenders, I'm going to build 1 Chinook. I'm going to sell my CC. I'm going to build 2 missile defenders because go 1 and 2. And then as USA, I'm going to queue up 2 rangers and get my capture upgrade as well. I'm going to put him straight in there. And then I'm going to send the dozers to the forward, do a fire base, and drop down a war factory as well. This is just an all-round solid build order to go to as USA. Queue up your rangers and you're going to go for your oils.
Rally point confirmed.
And then I'm going to control group my war factory 1, and then there is your build order. You're now collecting on 1 supply. You've got a war factory. You're going to have V's out should any tank hunters or a worker come or anything like that. You're going to have your first V out, and that's your first general opener. And then you can move your dozers back, hide it in the corners in case of a dozer hunter. But yeah, you want to get those 2 bunkers ASAP. So your first 2 units from your barracks, which is, you always want to drop down power first, and then your barracks, 2 missile defenders, 1 inside of there, 1 inside of there, and then you want to be getting your rolls. As soon as that upgrade's ready, waste no time. Some people I see sitting on it for ages. You then want to get your oils ASAP. As GLA and as China, you might want to get your oils a little bit later, but as USA, you have the option like this to get both oils very quick. Jumping around a little bit. Between my tips is actually tip number 4, but you can actually, if you want as USA, forget the first barracks, do 2 supplies first. So you wouldn't have that, you do your 2 supplies first, and then you would drop down your war factory and your barracks. But still, your first 2 units from your barracks would be still the missile defenders inside of there. So it's just 2 different options you've got. The first one I showed you is nice and safe, but obviously the 2 supplies, war factory, barracks is your standard go-to on pretty much any map. But always your priority probably should be that barracks first, get the missile defenders inside of there and inside of there, and then block off your entrance here, which is actually tip number 3 is always block off your entrance. So it doesn't matter if you're laser, if you're laser general, that can be a laser turret. You don't need to upgrade your power unless you're dropping down that second supply. And if you're any other USAs, recommend dropping down a fire base, one of the best defenses in the entire game. Actually, probably my favorite defense in the entire game. And then straight away, for the cost of 300 there, 1,000 there, so that's 1,300 in total. That's your main entrance and your side entrance completely blocked off. And then back here, you've even got that as well. So just in case something does get inside of your base, there's very little places. Maybe here's a bit of dead space, and here's a bit of dead space where he could be without getting attacked. If he goes anywhere near that bunker, he's going to be attacked and not able to be go inside of it himself. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the game as GLA. Okay, so we're now here as GLA, and we're going to show you a quick build order that you can do with GLA. Again, we're going to pretend we're on the side on Defcon, not as the mid. Well, it doesn't really, yeah, it does matter, but we're going to pretend we're going to be playing on the side. Then you want to queue up 5 workers from your CC. Pretty much any game you play as GLA, you want to do that. And your first building, you always want to do a barracks, because you could be truck rushed. You could have a worker coming in. You could have a dozer rush coming in from a USA. You could have a dozer drop or anything. And especially when you're playing as the side. Especially when you're playing as a small spot, know where the terror cars are. So there's a terror car there, and there's also a terror car here in this little village as well. So you always want to do a barracks first. Generally, if you ever play in GLA on anything, you always really want to do a barracks first. It's just get into the habit of doing that, and then later on you can start experimenting with doing like supply first or 2 supplies first or whatever you want. But generally, I think it's a good habit in the beginning when you're learning GLA for the first time is definitely drop down that barracks first. So we're going to queue up 2 terrorists. Behind this, we're going to do second supply, and we're going to do a tunnel. We're going to do a tunnel here. Always want to block off our entrance, so we're going to do a tunnel. We're actually going to do 2 tunnels here. So let's say we don't have a scan this time. We don't know what we're against. It could be a China, it could be a GLA, it could be air, it could be anything like that. So 1 terrorist can go in this car here if you're playing on the side spot. If you don't have the side spot, sorry, if you don't have the small spot, and you don't have that terror car, you can just put your terrorist on guard like that. And then, because we don't know what we're against, we're going to actually do 2 tunnels this time. Because if a truck comes through and kills one worker, chances are with these terrorists, you might still be able to save the other one. You don't want to have an open entrance against something that you don't know what it is. Because I've seen some people die in like 2 minutes, including myself. You can die in like 2 minutes. You let a truck come through, kills your worker, gets in your worker line, starts killing things, and then a flamer comes, it's GG for you in about 30 seconds. Or a minute and a half, something like that. So yeah, if you put a terrorist on guard, and you don't know what you're against, that terrorist will scout. If it's a dozer building a bunker or a Gatling or a fire base, you instantly know what you're against, and then you know what your next few units are going to be. So yeah, always want to seal off your entrance. Always want to do a barracks versus GLA. Especially if you're just starting out. Of course, if you're an experienced pro player and you're watching this, you know what to do. But this is for beginner level. 2 terrorists or 1 terrorist at least. Scout and use the terror car. Now the terror car can actually go in there, but if you've already scouted and killed a dozer or something, you can maybe go in and kill the other dozer, or you might want to actually send it to the middle and maybe crush some workers or kill a dozer or whatever you want. Also want to have 5 workers on your on each of your supplies. Obviously a war factory would be dropped down just whilst I was talking, and your RPGs that come free with the tunnel, they're actually going to go inside of the buildings. So yeah, let's say you killed some workers here or whatever you did. So yeah, as GLA, the main tip is make a barracks first and make a couple of terrorists. You can make 3 if you want. You can make a load more if you want. If you want to maybe follow it up with a TNT. And 99% of the time, you want to be getting that upgrade there as well. And the amount of times I see people making techs and they haven't got that upgrade, it's absolutely useless without the upgrade. It can 1v1 a V with it, and it can beat a V, but if without it, it can't 1v1 a V. So it shows you the massive difference that actually makes. So yeah, that's that one. Tip number 5. So yeah, tip 1 was take your bunkers. Tip number 2 was scout ASAP. So whether you're USA or whether you're sending an RPG forward or whether it's your first worker you just want to send in to scout, or a terrorist, or whatever you want to, you do want to scout eventually and see what you're against. You want to block off your entrance, which we have done, is number 3. As GLA, you want to do a barracks first, which is tip number 4. And as GLA and China, you always want to have 2 supplies. So let's say this guy here is on mid. This guy down here is our other mate. And this is us. We're GLA. He's GLA. And let's say he's GLA as well. Now, who should get priority over these side supplies here? Now, the people who are most vulnerable to getting doubled and getting attacked and quickly dying, who need the most help, are the people on the side. So this guy and this guy most of the time. Occasionally you'll get top level players sometimes doubling this guy in the middle if they think he's like the most experienced or whatever, but most of the time it's going to be this guy, the side, and this guy that's going to need the priority help. So the people on the sides automatically get free access to these. This guy here does not get a say if he gets those supplies or not, or these ones, unless he's maybe Air Force and these do some kind of agreement. But 99% of the time, 90% of the time, you want to agree that the side players get priority over that one and that one. And if you are GLA in China, you have to be getting that supply and that supply. Sometimes I see people doing 1 supply here and just sitting in their base getting oil. Nobody goes for this supply. It's absolutely stupid. You do not want to do that. You always want to get on 2 supplies. So GLA in China, always 2 supplies, and 99% of the time it's going to be that one and that one. Occasionally, when you get really good and when you're really confident, you can go for the middle, if maybe you know what you're against. But let's say you go for the middle and some guy down here sends a flamer straight to the middle and cancels that supply. You straight away, half of your economy is gone. Your supply that and your workers that you've built on your tunnel has died to a sneaky flamer that's shooting over there. Then straight away, half your economy is gone. You're probably going to lose against an equally skilled player that's over here. So yeah, most of the time you want to have 2 safe supplies, and the side players get priority. The middle player gets no say. The middle player should be going for mid, or if one of the players on the side is maybe a USA, that's when you can give up a supply, because a USA can do 1 supply build order. Okay, yeah, so yeah, one thing I do see people doing as well, this is in lower level games, is I see people going for the 2 supplies, but they'll do a supply there, and then the second supply will actually be here. And the enemy's here, by the way. So the enemy's here. So let's say we're against a China or whatever we're against, and people are dropping down a second supply there really early on as their main second supply. That's completely stupid. You never ever want to do that against an experienced player or even a mid-level player. That is 99% of the time going to get you killed. So you never want to do that, unless of course you are doing no rush 10 minutes or 25 minutes or whatever you want to play. That supply forward, you don't want to do it. especially if it's up here on the hill with no defense down here. Sure, maybe if you've got like a really forward position, maybe your tox, you've got some strong tox tunnels down here, maybe then you can be doing it, but I highly recommend you don't do it. Most experienced players, most pro players are always doing it on the side. You very rarely see a GLA or China or any faction go in for that really early on. So yeah, sides get the priority, and you want to do it with the safe supply. Okay, so like I said before, be aware of the terror cars is number 6. So the terror cars are there and there. They are nowhere else on the map. They are super fast, and you can get them for just $200. You can build a terrorist from the barracks, put him inside of there, and you can go and scout. If you don't know what you're against, you can go and scout and just see what things are, but you can kill like 5 workers, you can kill a dozer, you can kill even 2 trucks if you get the positioning right. But what I actually like to do, let's say you're GLA here, playing as mid, you get the terror car, you go in the middle, you crush some workers, building a tunnel, you go over here, kill the enemy workers, collecting and stuff like that. You can do so much damage with one terror car, so yeah, be aware of where the terror cars are. Maybe you want to protect your dozers if you know it's an experienced player as GLA who's going to have a terror car. You want to be aware that could be coming, and you also want to use it to your own advantage as well. So yeah, that's tip number 6. Tip number 7 is someone's always going to get doubled. Well, 99% of the time, someone's always going to get doubled. So you have to be prepared to have maybe a weaker middle, and sometimes maybe you're going to get doubled, and maybe you're not going to get as much help as you expected from your mid. Maybe your mid player is going to be a little bit slower, or maybe his tunnel's going to get denied or something. So sometimes you will get doubled. Now, the correct response is if you're getting doubled up here, your mates should be doubling somewhere else. So they should probably be doubling this guy. And then what I see sometimes people do is, oh, I'm getting doubled, and just press quit. They just press surrender, press exit game, and they're just out. That's the wrong way to play, because you have to be prepared for this. You have to be mentally ready. That's why also you're doing these 2 tunnels like this. If you don't know what you're against, you're playing super bunkery, getting a few safe tunnels. You've got a tunnel here, you're getting inside of your bunkers, you don't know what you're against, you could get doubled. So that's another reason why it's handy to have these bunkers. Your aim then is to last as long as possible, if not even survive and come back, because if you hold a rush against 2 people, most of the time you're probably going to win the game, because your other mates, as long as they're pretty good here and here, should then be able to kill this guy, because he'll be in a 2v1, and is he going to react as well and survive as long as you did? Most of the time, probably not. So yeah, see what you can do and last as long as possible. If you are a USA or a China and you're gonna die, but you're on your last dozer, it's about to get hunted, drop your mate down a power plant in here if he's GLA, or in here if he's GLA. If you surrender, it usually goes to the middle player who's higher up in the list, in the player list. So if you have all the players here, you would have up the top. Yeah, usually it goes to the player further up the list, as far as I'm aware anyway. So if you're the host and you play mid and he surrenders, I'm almost 100% sure that it will go to this player. So you can drop him down a power plant, and that can help before you die. Yeah, so just because you're out doesn't mean your team can't win you the game, and you will still get the win on your Revora stats or whatever you care about. Okay, so yeah, another thing is focus on the middle. So you'll see here I've got no presence in the middle at all. So we're going to send a worker early on to the middle. So yeah, especially if you're GLA, even if you're doing this build order here, 1 worker at least wants to go to the middle. And even if your tunnel isn't straight away, at least try and get it in the first couple of minutes. Some people I see not sending any workers over and over again to the middle. If they're whatever faction they are, they're just not interested in the middle. But yeah, I look in their base and they've made 3 or 4 black markets. Now, what do you think is better? Spending 10k on black markets, 4 black markets, or would you rather drop down a 1500 supply and be collecting off all of this stuff? And then you can even drop down another 1500 supply, and I can guarantee you collecting off that as well as these crates here is much better than dropping down 4 markets deep in the back of your base. So if you're a GLA and the enemy's taking control of the middle, you don't want to be spending money on secondary economy. You want to be fighting for the middle, because if you actually add up how much is here, it's actually a hell of a lot. There's almost 4k per pile. So let's call it, round it up to 4k. So you got 4, 8 I've been to school for a while. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, where are we at? 36, 40, 44k. Okay, take away a little bit, near enough 44k. Add this 30k is 74k. Add that one there is 104k. So I think it's about 102k in the middle. So would you rather just give up the middle and just let them have 102k for free? Meanwhile, you're spending your money on black markets and scud storms and whatever you're doing. Or would you rather just build one black market, get your upgrades, and then fight for the middle? So yeah, very early on, you want to be dropping down a tunnel and you want to be trying to secure the middle. A lot of lower level players, which is the reason I'm saying this, will not go for the middle. So if you are one of the people watching this and you're versus one of the noobs that's not going to be watching this, they're not going to go for the middle. So 99% of the time, you'll be able to drop down a tunnel in the middle. And then you'll be like, oh, they haven't even come to the middle, not interested. And then you'll just be able to, like, okay, I'll just drop down a supply then. And then suddenly you're on an extra supply. So especially if you're this guy and you've allowed your mate there to have that supply and you've allowed your mate there to have that supply, then suddenly you've got this one and you've got this one. You've now doubled your economy. Okay, you've got your oils to take into account as well, but we're not counting them. And then hang on a minute, the enemy's not come to the middle again. Then let's creep forward with another tunnel. And then let's drop down another supply. And then hang on a minute, we've tripled our economy from what we had in the beginning. So the amount of people I see not going for the middle and just giving it up to the enemy is unreal. It's to me an absolute no-brainer why you should be going for the middle. What I do see sometimes is players going straight to the mid and they're not dropping down a tunnel first. They're just dropping down a supply like that, and they're just thinking, oh yeah, I'll just get the mid. No one goes for it. But you do not want to do that. Always stick with the rule of dropping down a tunnel or some kind of defense or something first. Unless you're okay, if you're China or if you're USA, you won't be doing that. But if you're GLA, you always want to be dropping down a tunnel. Secure the area first and then drop down the supply, because it's all right thinking that you're going to expand and gain more money and double and triple your economy, like I just said. But if you drop down that supply, you build all your workers, and then a flamer comes and kills it, then that's just set you back loads, because it costs you 1,500 for the supply or 2k for USA. You built an extra Chinook, which costs 1,200, or you've built a load of workers, which cost 1k, and then it's come and died straight away. So that's actually then hindered you. So you want to secure the area. Always stick with the rule when you're expanding. Secure the area, then drop down the supply. No matter, you stick with whatever faction you want. Secure the area and then drop down the supply. Of course, if you're China, you don't have tunnels. Maybe you want to drop down a bunker, or maybe if you want to get an outpost guarding it or something like that. But yeah, especially if you're GLA, a tunnel first, then a supply. Or maybe 2 tunnels first and then a supply. There's nothing worse than dropping down a supply and then it get instantly killed, and it can actually probably cost you the game. Okay, so yeah, number 8 is focus on the middle. Tip number 9 is get the enemy bunkers. So what we're going to do here, we're going to prepare 4 RPGs as our GLA. Of course, if you're USA, you can use Chinooks to drop inside of the enemy bunkers. If you are China, maybe you can get a Helix in the back or something like that. But mainly as USA and GLA, you're going to be doing this. So let's say we're against this guy over here. One of our first units you're going to be making as GLA is always going to be a technical. And you're coming in. Okay, he hasn't got hold of his bunker. Now I can take hold of that bunker and drop off a worker, start building a tunnel. And now this enemy team that's here, his mid, and this guy now thinking, whoa, now I'm on a timer. If that tunnel gets up, it's going to be super hard for me to deal with. It's going to pop a load of quads. It's going to start killing my stuff. We need to deal with that. Then it forces a bad engagement, because it's then forcing people to engage into this bunker, which, as I said before, is super powerful. It's got a super big range. It's also blocking enemy reinforcements coming. So let's say there's a nuke trying to come in and help his mate. Battlemaster's not going to be able to get past that without dying. Gat's not going to be able to get past without taking significant damage. So really powerful thing is taking enemy bunkers. Now, after people watch this tutorial especially, people will start taking this front bunker. So then what do? You can run in with a technical, just run past, because technical's nice and fast. You probably will get past. Now, hang on a minute. They're a bit newbie. They haven't taken their back bunker. Now we can drop off a few RPGs. Drop off our worker. Use these RPGs to start killing their oil. So we're going to control fire and force fire their oil. And then we're going to drop down a tunnel. Oh, and that worker we forgot about before, by the way. We're going to start dropping down a tunnel with that as well. So then we're killing their oil. One of the major sources of economy. If you've only got one here, which is, I think, 30k. Let's just check. I think it's 30k. So yeah, 30k. Once that runs out, that's it. These oils last forever, though. So if you kill that nice and early, you've taken away a massive part of their economy. An oil is worth, I think, did I say 2.6 block markets or 2.5 block markets, something like that? So you kill one oil, you can see it's worth an absolute hell of a lot. Okay, so let's say you've gone in here. Enemy's taken that bunker, he's taken that bunker. Well, your technical is a really fast unit, so you can use this to harass. Maybe you've killed a few rebels trying to capture the oils or whatever. Now we're going to try and just see if the mid guy is taking his bunker, because most of the time, even among pro players, you'll see him not actually taking that bunker. So what you can do here, drop off your worker whilst you're running away. Maybe they've got a bit of clouded fog of war. Nobody's taken their supply yet. Drop off a worker. If that worker gets killed, no problem. You just cancel the tunnel. You get your money back. You lose a worker with $200. But if it gets up, probably going to end the game just there. Now, another thing you can do, just go inside of this bunker. This guy's left it open. This one can also hit the oil. Really, really pro tip. See this happen in expert games. See DK Crazy do this a hell of a lot. And now, the only spot where you can't hit the oils from these bunkers, so that one can hit that one. But the only spot that's safe is this one here cannot hit that oil. All of the spots, that one can hit that one. That one can hit that one. That one can hit that one, as you saw. And then this one down here can hit that one, even though it looks far, it can hit it. But yeah, this one here is the only one that actually can't hit it. So if you're here, you actually got quite a decent spot, to be fair. So yeah, taking the enemy bunkers. And running around with the technical causing all kinds of damage. Yeah, tip number 10 was actually kill the enemy oils. So even if with this attack you don't manage to kill the oils, and I'm not saying, by the way, that you should be doing this every time, sending a tech RPG in or dropping missile defenders. I'm not saying you should be doing that every time, just showing you it's one option. Even if this fails later on, let's say you're you've got a sneak attack, or you've got a demo rebel ambush, you've got demo bikes, or you've got a carpet and artillery, whatever you've got that's able to kill oils, that should be one of your primary objectives. Unless your base is getting rushed and you're about to die, of course use your carpet there. But if you're a little bit safe, you want to be using carpet and artillery. So if you use a carpet directly in the middle of those two oils, it will damage them significantly, and then you can use level 1 artillery, and 99% of the time it will kill both. Sometimes I think you can see one oil survive just on like 0 HP, but I think from my memory, if you just use level 1 artillery and a carpet, it will kill that. Spectre gunship will just kill one oil. Fuel air bomb will obviously kill them both. A10, triple A10 will kill them both. TNT, 4 terrorists kill an oil. But yeah, it should be one of your primary focuses, but especially if you kill it early on, they don't even get the 1000 bonus from capturing the oil. Especially if you kill both, that's absolutely huge. If you've got a particle cannon or a nuke or anything like that, that should be your first focus, as well as killing the oil. Unless, of course, you need to defend your base or there's a massive army somewhere. So yeah, that's pretty much all the tips. So tip number 1, take your bunkers. Number 2 was scout ASAP, whether you're scouting with an RPG or a terrorist or a USA. You want to block off your entrances like we did here with the tunnels and like we did here with the firebase. Of course, if you're China, bunkers only cost $400. You drop down a bunker, you put a $300 tank hunter inside of it, for China vanilla at least, and you've got a bunker there, and now a bunker there. Now your base is like really, really solid. Now you can do napalm MiGs or whatever you want. Tip number 4 was GLA barracks, always to be first and get those terrorists out. So whether it's a truck rush coming or whatever, or whether you get in the terror car, always useful. Knowing that someone will always get doubled, so there's no point just quitting and surrendering, lasting as long as you can, and trying to withstand the rush, and also doubling with your mate. So let's say your mate here, he wants to do a helix, and you're going to here do a TNT, you can double this guy and get him out quick. It's a really powerful strat on 3v3. Focusing on the middle, so always first worker to the middle, and not first worker, sorry, but maybe a 4th or 5th worker to the middle, drop down the tunnel, and when you see it's safe, then drop down supplies. Taking the enemy bunkers like we showed you with the technical or missile defenders, whatever. You can even do a combat drop once you get a bit more advanced. You can do a combat drop with rangers, drop them inside of there. Even if the enemy's inside of it, you can flush them out, and then you can put your own missile defenders inside of it. Killing the enemy oils and focusing on that. And yeah, tip number 11 was actually using fast units. So whether it be a combat Chinook, or whether it be a technical, or whether it be a V, or whatever, fast units that can go quickly from this base to this base and to this base. I mean, if it's a technical, you can come through here, kill a load of workers, come through here, he's going to be on that safe supply, kill a load of workers. You come through here, okay, there's another GLA, you come through here and kill a load of his workers, stop his 2 rebels capturing, kill a load more workers here, and then you're harassing some trucks from China over here. as well as killing his red guard. One technical, such a fast unit, can cause so much damage in Defcon, as can like a combat Chinook or whatever, where you can quickly go to and from all the different enemies, attacking them and causing damage to all three rather than just one. One final thing to say on Defcon, I know I've gone probably over 11 tips and I've gone over 30 minutes now talking, is that do not be afraid to ever just bunker your side off. If you're not having any success with the aggression, do not be afraid to just bunker it off and then just suddenly just focus purely on the middle, because these entrances are easily defendable really with 2 tunnels. And with that there, it's quite a bunkery map, which is why so many good games happen on Defcon, why so many good long games happen, and then all the action should be on the middle. You don't want to give them 100 and whatever K it was, 102K or whatever, and start building black markets or supply drop zones. Until that money is completely dried out, you don't want to start building that secondary economy. Okay, so I think that's it. I apologize, I did run over there. I thought it'd only be 10 minutes, but here we are 30 minutes later. But hopefully I taught you at least one thing, and yeah, let me know what tutorials or tips you want to know in the future. So GG and peace out.